she follows us. We walk across the room and she follows us and she recognizes us now.
How old is she? 2 months.
All right, we're about ready to get started. Everybody get your microphones on, please. Fine. Not enough to start. The old schnozzle. Call this meeting of the Cartersville City Council to order. If you'll please stand, we'll have our pledge, our invocation by Councilman Tonsmeyer and the pledge by Councilman Hodge.
Let us pray. Loving God, we gather with thanksgiving for your gifts, for the bounty of the earth and placing us here. Grant to this council the sense of vision and help us in the decisions that we make, especially those tonight, that it serves well the people of this community and gives honor and glory to your name. For it's your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Keeling, the roll, please.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1.
Here.
Jay Stepp, Ward 2.
Here.
Louis Tonsmeyer, Ward 3.
Here.
Lindsay McDaniel, Ward 4. Diane Tate, Ward 5.
Here.
Lori Pruitt, Ward 6.
Here.
All right, thank you very much, Connie. Happy New Year to everybody. Our first order of business is approval of the council meeting minutes from our December 20th meeting. If you've had a chance to look those over, Chair will entertain any sort of edits, additions, rewrites of history, or motions.
Mayor, I didn't see any corrections or additions. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We do have a couple of public hearings and second votes tonight. Mr. Menino, if you'll start us with those, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you noted, this is a second reading. There have been no additions or changes since the first reading. This is the annual correction or update to the zoning map. Planning Commission did recommend approval.
Okay, questions for Randy at this point? Thank you, sir. I'll open up a public hearing relative to ZMA 12-01. Anybody wishing to step forward, speak for or against, may do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close that public hearing. Council, now in your hands for any additional questions, discussion, or motions.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Menino, the next item, please.
Again, as you noted, this is a second reading. Planning Commission did recommend approval of proposed changes to the zoning ordinance, year-end cleanup and corrections and improvement, and with that, we recommend approval.
Thank you again. I'll open up a public hearing relative to T12-03, text amendment application by the City of Cartersville. Anybody wishing to step forward and speak either for or against may do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And again, Council, I put it to you for final consideration.
Mayor, question, please. Mr. Menino, you and I have talked about this some. Most of these updates are for special use. It brings it back to council for special use. Give me an example, if you don't mind, of a private market demand that's reflected in this.
Well, those were comments in the memo, private market demand. Those were when we have realtors or developers coming into our office talking to us about land uses and where they can and where they can't do it. In some cases, doing a zoning change in a particular area would not be as favorable as actually doing a use permit, where the use isn't something that's not out of the ordinary. However, you're trying to keep a certain zoning in an area, so you look at that on a case-by-case basis with a use permit.
Special use would be better than changing the zoning.
In several cases, yes. We do recommend a use permit as opposed to changing zoning. Still goes through the same process, public hearing process. Planning Commission will hear it, make a recommendation based on standards that we built into the ordinance. and then city council will also get opportunity to hear it twice also. So it'll go through the same process as zoning, same scrutiny. However, it just won't change the actual zoning.
Are neighbors still notified if a special use is coming up in their neighborhood?
Yes,
Same way, same process.
that is correct.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? And if there are none, a motion would be in order.
Motion to approve on the second reading.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Myers, oops, I'm sorry, jumping ahead too quickly. Randy? Thank you.
This last item is a resolution. If you recall, back in November, we did a public hearing based on required changes to the city's capital improvement element and short-term work program, which are related to the comprehensive plan and the fact that the city has an impact fee ordinance in place. With that, we submitted that data to the Department of Community Affairs and the Regional Development Center. They have reviewed it, approved it. Again, this is an annual update. We have to do this as long as we have that particular ordinance on the books, and we'll continue to update it annually as required. With that, we recommend your approval of this resolution so we can submit the final version.
Okay. Any discussion on this item?
And this is the same version we looked at before? It hasn't changed? Since
Actually, the short-term work program, some of the individual departments made some corrections and changes since last year. The years changed on it, the project timing and so forth has been amended slightly. I did get feedback from the fire department. As you're aware, the fire department, their new facility has been completed. In the last version you looked at, it was still listed on there, and now it's listed as it's completed. Police department provided some updates and some other departments, but the bulk of it is exactly the same with some slight changes and corrections.
Yeah, you good, Lori?
I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane was just pointing out, I'm sorry, I'm being very informal. Councilman Tate, my apologies to Councilman Pruitt, was pointing out the interest on those impact fee accounts, that there's actually no interest drawn on that. Is there a, Tom, can you come forward and kind of
It's
address
probably
it?
not a
Defer
lot.
to the,
There
The
isn't.
benefits.
I mean, it's probably what, a percent if it's any?
You are correct. There is no interest currently being added to that, to any of our accounts, due to the fact that the way our account structures are, our expenses exceed the amount of interest that we would be given
Oh, I
because of
gotcha.
the interest, because of the low interest rates.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you, Tom.
Good. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? If not, motion would be in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Now, Mr. Myers, thank you.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Electric Cities of Georgia is a nonprofit state organization that we are a member of, along with approximately 52 other cities in the state. They provide our retail energy services for ourselves and our customers. Before you is a new contract with ECG because our current contract expires June 30th. The major difference in this contract versus the existing one is the way the service fees are calculated, and this contract is an intergovernmental agreement between all the cities, like our MEAG contract is, as opposed to having a contract with ECG.
I got you. Okay.
But your approval is recommended of this contract.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Myers on this item?
Mayor, I mentioned in the work session that David and I talked about this today, and I was reading this document thinking, how does it benefit our electric department? As David and I talked, there's a real value added to this contract. David, if you don't mind sharing that.
Yes, ma'am. It helps the department in things like system maintenance, getting contractors to do various things on our system. But one of the key things about what ECG can provide us is services for our customers. whether it be engineers to go into one of our local industrial plants to give money-saving advice or recommendations on changing out motors or power quality or changing processes to save energy. All of that type of stuff is done through services with Electric Cities. Residential home audits and commercial cooler checking, refrigeration, compressed air, all those types of things we do through engineers at Electric Cities of Georgia.
In other words, it would be very expensive for us to have this kind of expertise, even though we do have expertise, but not this specific, if we didn't contract with this for our industries.
Right. In fact, that's why Electric Cities kind of developed the services offerings, because you realize how expensive it would be to have a compressed air expert or a energy efficiency expert on staff that's not busy every day. Well, the way this works is Electric Cities hires those professionals, and then all the cities that are members share those professionals and use those when they need them. That way we're not paying for the whole person or that whole professional service all the time.
Okay, very good. All right. Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the resolution for Electric Cities of Georgia.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Dave. Mr. Porter, I think you've got the next 3 or so, don't you?
Yes, Mayor. In your agenda packet, there was a tax anticipation note resolution, and then David Archer handed out some additional resolutions. The resolution initially that was in the agenda packet authorized the city to go back 60 days to have some money available that we spent already on the public safety headquarters and the fire station, and come up with a number that we needed for funding. That was $4.3 million. The additional resolutions and everything else that was handed out to you was in talking with Gabe Egan last week. He was able to go to market and actually issue this debt, and that's what the other resolution is the approval of the issuance. That will need to be approved as well. So we were able to issue the debt at 0.55% interest rate. It'll be a one-time payment due back at December 31st of 2013. As you may or may not know, TANs are only allowed to be issued on a calendar year basis, but we'll be able to, as the year progresses, collect the SPLOST, the 2007 SPLOST money, and pay back this debt at the end of the calendar year. So I recommend approval of the initial resolution that was in your agenda packet, as well as the other additional stuff that both the mayor and the city clerk will need to sign off on.
Okay, so there's actually 2 resolutions, or it's a resolution and associated paperwork?
2 resolutions. One's called the official intent resolution, and the other one is a resolution to provide for obtaining a temporary loan to pay current expenses for the city of Cartersville and additional land.
Thank you. So any motion would have to please specify approval for both resolutions.
Yes.
And if there's no other discussion, motion would be in order.
Motion to approve both resolutions.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Continue on, please.
The next item, Mayor, is the tenant we have at the Montessori School is wishing to add an item to allow for leasing or subletting of part of the building. They want to bring in some professionals to help the students there on staff or in the school. So we'll recommend approval of this additional subletting to occupational therapists or speech therapists or similar professionals that would help the students that attend the school.
Okay. If there's no discussion, a motion would be in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And the final item is the purchase of coffee machines. Sent out bids and received 3 of them back. The lowest and best bid came from Toshiba Business Solutions in the amount of $7,229. Be a machine for the public safety headquarters, 1 in the fire side, 1 in the police side, and also the Downtown Development Authority needs a new machine. And these are machines we're buying outright, and the reason for that is they last longer than 5+ years. We get better use out of them by purchasing them rather than leasing them.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this side? And if not, a motion's in order.
Just one right quick. That downtown development copier they have up there, did that lease expire?
Correct. We were holding off, and actually, the police and fire have we'll be getting those new machines in. They've actually received them as a demo, but the DDA one, I'm going to hold off a couple more months. And that was part of the bid package, that we would wait a few more months, but we do actually, at least it's been cleaned up over there.
Okay.
Dan, are we actually getting 5 years out of any of our machines?
Actually, back in 2001, I got away from leasing, and we still have some of those machines in use today. I mean, we've had to replace a few, but the heavy used ones, but there's still machines that are in use that we bought 2001, 2002.
So that was the question I was gonna ask, because I'm thinking in certain areas, there's probably a heck of a lot more copies being made than in others.
Correct. I mean,
So, a new copier is needed for all these. You guys have assessed that they're all due in time and ready, and there's not a used one to slide somewhere where.
that is correct. And these ones, and of course, the newer machines to date have scanning function, they have the built-in fax, and they're actually using them for their printers. So it's basically getting rid of the multi-use printers that are in each different department. So they have one major copier that's used for printing and faxing as well.
Very good. All right. Any other discussion? And if there's none, a motion would be in order.
Make a motion to approve the copy machines for, do I need to say that?
No, I think you just approved the purchase of the copy machines.
Okay. Low bid?
And I've got a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Myers?
Yes, sir, this is a capital purchase for the parking lot lighting at the new Steak and Shake that will be at the Main Street Shopping Center. I recommend your approval for this purchase.
Okay. Any questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you
Thank you.
again. Mr. Anderson.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. Parks and Recreation Department sent out RFPs for the Dillinger Park Pool improvements. We sent them out 2 times, as a matter of fact. But for this final time, they were advertised properly. We received 3 RFPs back. One of them we had to reject. They did not have the E-Verify or the SAVE documentation. Our evaluation team, consisting of city employees, graded these, and all of them was unanimous that the Dockery Group was the best score for the city. The Dockery Group in the scope of work, their original bid was $838,117. There were several items that the Parks and Recreation Department, as well as the pool engineer, decided that we needed. Those totaled $157,907. We had $20,875 in deductions. That's for a total price of $975,049. This includes new decking, changing our Olympic-sized pool into keeping as a competition pool, a 25-yard short course pool. It would change our the end closest to the office as a 0 depth entry and have spray features, play features for younger kids, for families. And then there was also an addition that puts us over budget, would be a slide in the amount of $13,868.50, making a total of $1,088,947.50. As I did mention earlier, the slide put us over, as we discussed in the work session. I am recommending the $875,049 for the pool renovation, but I'm also asking council to approve the $113,000 for the slide. It is, and the reason that money was not put in that budget, it was an error on my fault. I did not budget enough money for that. This will be a definite asset to our park. We have, this pool is going on, this would be its 37th year. and we've gotten a lot of use out of that park. Our aquatics program is an extremely strong program, and I think it would be really a shame for us not to do this slide for our pool. We have a lot of our neighbors that are building aquatic centers. Cherokee County is building over a $20 million facility. The city of Cummings built over a $20 million facility. And of course, we're trying to renovate our pool, and hopefully one day we'll be able to afford a pool like this. But until then, these pools are trending away from the normal Olympic-sized pool, which we had in the mid-'70s, built at that time, to where they're going to the play parks that features spray features as well as slides. And I'm asking you to approve the slide at $1,088,947.50.
We were talking earlier, in the earlier meeting, and the discussion went to the stubbing out of the piping. Is there expense related to that?
There is an expense related to that, but because it requires a separate pump, and if we weren't able to do the slide at this time, this price includes stubbing it in. If we did not want the slide, period, if council chose not to do the slide and did not ever wanted to slide, then that money could come out of that, and therefore reducing the $975 amount.
So just as a point of, I'm going to make sure I heard you correctly. So if it were to be stubbed with no slide, that would still fall within your budget?
Yes.
Okay, so there's no, I guess where I was going is how much more would it cost you if they decided they didn't want to do the slide now but wanted to let that open for a later option? Is there additional expense?
Well, leaving it, the $975 includes stubbing it out for that option later on. If as Carrie had mentioned earlier, if we did not want the slide at any point in time, and it was decided to do that, then that amount, then we would not need the full $975. That amount would come out.
And the whole reason we're doing this is to comply with the health department guidelines, right?
Well, yes, that's correct. We've got, the health department has several times written us up on our decking, the ADX, and I didn't mention our bathhouse. This would include a new bathhouse also. And as well as I mentioned the additions we had on, we could have gone with a lower price, but in doing that, we would not be going in and tearing out all the main drain pipes and the pipes to the pump house, and there would be no use to put facial stuck on top of it if we had to come in some point in time in the future and tear that bottom out. So that's why the additions were added.
Okay.
And yes, Greg, in work session, I am having a hard time.
And I understand that.
At some point, we've got to consider it's a $114,000 slide.
And I do understand that, Carrie, and but I keep looking at our community. I think deserves what other communities have.
Certainly.
And I think this is a amenity that we should have.
You do a fantastic job.
Well,
And we have a great Parks and Recreation. I'm just having a hard time justifying the amount of money for a slide.
Well, and again, that's when y'all make those decisions. That's I'm asking for the department, and it's y'all's decision to make.
Mayor, Greg and I were talking just a few minutes. Of course, we had a discussion during work session. I'd like to say publicly what I said to Greg, and I mean this. I've said it to Sam before, maybe you too, Mayor, but we do have to make the decisions, but I appreciate our department heads bringing to us their vision, everything put out there so we can make a decision based on the very best it can be. I think we all agree we want that for Cartersville. And then sometimes we have to back up and do what we have to do. But Greg, I appreciate that. I said that to you a few minutes ago, and I mean that with every department head.
Now, you did mention that staying within budget, it would stub it for the slide, but I know that purchasing the slide now would be about $113,000, and down the road, that cost for installation would be more greater because they've got to come back out. You're not doing it in the middle of construction.
I don't know how much greater it would be, but it'd be somewhat more expensive. I don't know that it would be. I don't think it'd be 25% more. I think it'd probably be then 10 to 15% more, something like that.
My only concern And obviously I missed the work session, so I apologize, but, you know, at the end of, and I think these were actually, Dan's comments, not Sam's, but, we could, I guess, approve it without the slide now, and then have the recreation department budget it at a later date. That to me means it'll never happen, because I know how tight we
Well,
are.
it would be tight.
I mean, so it's either, I'm not saying it's now or never, but it's gonna be tough in the future to
It'd be
get
much-
$115,000 budgeted for a slide.
It'd be much easier in Parks Recreation budget to be able to do that. As we are trying to, renovate Dillinger Park, with our general budget, it would be difficult to do.
Well, I mean, I know it's expensive, but I mean, if you do look at the other communities and, neighborhoods, I'm shocked at how expensive these things are, and I'm sure there's a reason why it is that, but, I mean, if you take it and piece it out and, you look at it and say, oh, good Lord, we paid $115,000 for a slide, but, things cost money, and to have it nice, you can see obviously what it's gonna cost us. In my opinion, I'd rather have it done and done right and nice than to, try to piece it together at a later date. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Any other questions for Greg at this point?
Two.
Okay.
Just help me clarify, your budget was $1 million?
My budget was $1,025,000 for this, and with the 975, I've already spent just under $5,000 on doing the RFPs and the original design. Give us about $45,000. We'll have to spend somewhere, but the department will spend somewhere between $45,000 and $50,000, what we estimate, for one of the things is for new fencing, which is we're doing, the department's doing. There are several things that we're furnishing. We're furnishing the anchors for we're utilizing our existing dive stands, our existing diving board stands, so we're furnishing anchors for those. We are furnishing, and then we're also doing the lighting.
So it looks like the pool slide is about 70,000 over budget, because you've still got 45 or so.
That is correct.
Still put you within budget. Okay. And did we just ask the Dockery Group to give us a price, or have we checked to see if this is?
No, well, in our
the going rate.
we had, I will say, I told you that we did this 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
The first time that we did this, the Dockery Group was the apparent was the low price, that they were not the ones that they were the low price, and that price was almost $1.5 million. Okay. We got 2 prices here that the team considered, and that was Dockery Group and Sunbelt. They're the ones that turned.
Right. I'm just kind of focusing on the pool slide, though. Was it?
Okay. Well, the Sunbelt's pool slide, the addition was $108,000.
I think where she's going to is how much is the markup, and if you bought it yourself, would it be cheaper?
I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way to get us closer to budget than just going with the 115 or 113.
Since you're gonna find out that they've got different factors in their numbers now. In answer to your question on the budget, I talked to Greg about this earlier, it's about $1,140,000. Once he has the electric car, lighting and all such work, it's still gonna be about $115,000 over the $1,025,000.
Greg, sometimes when we make decisions, we talk about what would the payback be, and how, what do you think this would do to increase?
Well, as a matter of fact, I got an email from this center, and they were saying that that we were getting near our price or what the department wanted to spend, except for the slide, and they were saying that doing this we could justify going up on our price of admissions. That's not something I would like to do. But he did say that he had a similar project that did this, that did this similar to the same process, and because they went to the play features and the slide, that their attendance increased 40% the next year. And
Could we handle 25 to 40% increase with our
yes,
pool?
yes, we could.
That's a really good point, yeah. That I didn't really think about attendance spiking because we have all these additional
Right.
exciting.
Well, again, that's not something I want to say that, I can't say that, there'd be a payback in 5 years or anything like that, but, we would expect an increase in attendance.
I probably want to try the pool side.
Mr. Anderson, what was your original budget for doing this?
My original budget was $1,025,000, which was too low.
Council, I'm just gonna go from the hip and recommend something, since there's,
Well, I've got a question for Dan, actually. If that's, or if you're running the show, so.
no, you go ahead. We're all about open discussion. If you have a question for Mr. Port,
Yeah.
that'd be wonderful. This is related to the pool, isn't it?
No. I gotta go here in a minute. Let's get this out of the way. Question, I was actually consulting with our city attorney about this, but on the 2014 SPLOST, which is what we're talking about here, you had the pool, and you also had the north side parkland, right?
Correct. Well, no, the Northside Parkland was 07 SPLOST.
Had development of North Cannon Park.
Okay.
Had development of North Cannon Park.
If there was other,
He had $5 million in the 2014 SPLOST budgeted for recreational projects. It was a little over $5 million. Part of this was $1,025,000 for the pool.
so if the recreation department feels as though this is important, we could try to go under budget in the future on maybe some other recreation.
They would have to be under budget unless the SPLOST dollars increase.
$115,000.
Correct.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Not that the decision of a pool slide is gonna change the long-term history of the city of Cartersville. But it seems that this has gotten kind of, I don't know, the council had all this, this information taken in a lot of stuff. I'm just gonna recommend, perhaps, I know that with construction, you need a decision on the construction portion tonight. Perhaps, and I'll leave this up to council, you could either make a motion for it or against it tonight, including the pool, or we can just decide we're gonna approve a certain portion and then just take up, maybe at our next meeting, just kind of put the item on again regarding the slide. And like I said, I'll leave that up to y'all, to your discretion. We could talk about that, but,
I would like that. I would like to think about it just a little bit longer.
We got we have a contract in hand.
We have a contract, the contract is for the, and the bond are for the 975. If it went to the higher, to the 188, the bonds would be conditioned on the bonds having to be redone.
Change the bond closing and all that stuff, right, if we did that?
To add the slide.
No, the bond is okay for the 975. If you go over the 975, they gotta do a new performance bond. But the reason I'm asking is, if you approve the 975 contract, how do we know that the dockery company will honor the price that they bid, because now we're doing a new contract?
Oh, talking about for the slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? Do you know the answer to that?
I do not know the answer to that.
So you would recommend we take the whole thing up right now and get it?
I'm not recommending, I'm just asking a question. I'm just over here just.
You're trying to keep us out of trouble, or trying to keep us from walking the wrong
But
place.
do
I'm
y'all
just,
understand my concern?
Yes, absolutely.
I have a question for council, those that are hesitant. In 2 weeks, is it additional info that we need, or is it just needing time to mull it over? Because, the way I
It's
see
a lot of
it
money for a slide. And
But it's still gonna be a lot of money in 2 weeks too.
It doesn't seem like there's another alternative from the questions I've asked. It's
Exactly.
either it's gonna be.
Yeah,
Either you want, I mean, at the end of the day, either you want a slide or you don't. And like I said, my recommendation was just, we spent about 15 minutes talking about a slide. Everybody kind of, I mean, you could spend as much time as you want, but I didn't know if extra time would be helpful for some.
Well, Greg, I mean.
But your point is well taken.
Is it important, I mean, do you feel as though this
Well,
slide is important? I mean, obviously you've gotten up and you've spilled your guts, but if you had to shorten something else to make this right
Well, there wouldn't,
financially.
well, there's nothing else in the pool that I could shorten.
No,
That's what you,
And
and the other stuff,
And other stuff.
well, you know,
But do we want to shorten other projects for a slide? That's my problem.
I mean, the way I see this is,
Call the question.
if he would've, if it would've been in the budget, which was, you know, should have been, we would've never had the discussion. We would never even be arguing that we was paying $115,000 for a slide. The only reason we are now is because the slide was originally supposed to be on there and it's not, so now we see it. That's sort of, that's sort of where I'm coming from is, yeah, it's now it's out there and it's in front of us, but if it would have been in there originally and budgeted, we would never even, with 18 minutes ago, we'd have been done with this.
If it were budgeted, I guess that's the issue is, it's not, and
It's
are
an
we
add-on.
okay with that?
Well, I would simply just, there's either one side or the other side, and I don't know which way it's gonna slide.
Well, I will.
But the chair will entertain a motion at any time.
Well, I'm gonna offer the motion, recommending the full project, with the slide, for a total price of $1,088,947.50 to the Dockery Group.
Might I ask that he amend that and add, subject to the vendor complying with the performance bond requirement in the additional amount?
Say that again.
They're given a 975 performance bond, they will have to do it in the additional amount.
Okay.
but now, David, if that's a codicil to that motion, then why does 2 weeks make a difference?
No, he's not, it's
I
not
didn't say it
qualified.
did make
No.
a difference.
Oh,
I just
okay.
asked the
No.
question.
Okay.
He wants to make sure we're protected for the full amount if you all approve that.
Well, make sure, the law requires if you give a project over a bid over a certain amount, you gotta have a performance bond. I want the motion to legally require for this to be a legally binding award of a bid, that they do what the law requires and provide the adequate performance bond. That's all, that's the only point I'm raising. I'm
So
not
to
speaking to the merit.
Amend that just to add that if there is a difference with it, we get the performance bond up to the
Yeah, yeah, that's all I'm trying to
Okay,
accomplish.
so we have a,
or 1,800,000 or 1,088,947,050.
all right, so there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it. But please don't find the 70,000 in the North Park improvements.
All right, so we got a motion and a second. All that's in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
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 Well, I'm torn, Greg.
I am too.
I'm really torn.
Going once, going twice.
Mayor, come on,
I mean, we're here to vote. I mean, what do you want me to do? I try. All right, so I've got, all opposed, like sign. All right, we got 2 for and 2 against, or 2 for and 3 against. So by rule, it requires 4 votes.
So that means the entire thing fails.
Well, no. Well, actually,
It
Yeah,
does.
right now it
that
does.
definitely does, yeah.
However, the chair can entertain another motion.
A motion to approve just the 975, is that it, 49?
Yes, the budgeted amount from Dockery Group. Is that your motion?
Does that include the
We're
having
good on
it
the
set up
bond
for
then.
the slide?
That does include the stubbing, the pipe,
Stubbing.
the stubbing for the slide, if, at a later date.
Then I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the 975.49, including the stubbing for the slide.
And I'll second that.
Okay, further discussion, you got a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you know, if we're, if we're gonna stub this thing for the slide, we know that eventually we're gonna pay for the slide. Where's the difference?
No, I suggested we take the stubbing out for now.
Well, the motion that we have now, and the current bid price did include the stubbing for the slides. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor of that motion, raise your right hand and please say aye.
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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess it was unanimously. We go with that. So there we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
All right.
What did we do?
Well, it
All right.
might be worth talking about it, maybe the visioning session or some other place that we figure out what we're gonna do about the pool slide if we don't have an answer in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Very good. Anything else that needs to come before council this evening?
Mayor, Council, Melinda Lemon, Department of Economic Development. I wanted to bring to your attention that each year the Department of Community Affairs ranks each county in the state of Georgia based on poverty, unemployment, and per capita income statistics, and then ranks each county in a tier status, 1 through 4, 4 being more economically stable communities than tier 1 communities. I have sort of good news, bad news for you tonight. The good news is that that those certain economic indicators for our community have improved. The bad news is for some of our businesses is that some of the industry incentives are decreasing as a result, unless those industries file a notice of intent with the Department of Community Affairs prior to February 15th. My Department of Economic Development would like to host a seminar for the eligible businesses, area brokers, even tax preparers in the community, frankly, anyone who wants to attend this seminar on Wednesday, January 16th at 9 a.m. We're going to utilize the Chambers Anheuser-Busch Community Room, and we'll have a speaker come in from at least the Department of Economic Development to talk about the implications of the changes. We're losing our less developed census tract status, for example, and we're changing from a tier 2 back to a tier 3 community. So what does that mean for those communities is part of what the seminar is about, as well as how to fill out the notice of intent. So again, the date is Wednesday, January 16th at 9 a.m. in the Chamber of Commerce's Anheuser-Busch Community Room.
Help me understand what it means by the statement of intent. But what is that issue that we're addressing?
Well, with the notice of intent, a company that is eligible for an improved level of job tax credit, for example, an industry in a less developed census tract only has to create 10 new jobs. If they intend to create those 10 new jobs in the near future, they can file that notice of intent with the state and lock in that more beneficial level for a 3-year period. Otherwise, after February 15th, they go simply to a tier 2 status, not to the extra benefits of less developed census tract. Those eligible businesses, by the way, are in 6 categories, if I may add that as well. They're manufacturers, warehouse distribution companies, broadcasting, telecommunications, tourism, and R&D companies. In an opportunity zone, as you well know, that's broader, but elsewhere in Bartow County, it's limited to those specifically defined businesses. So those businesses and those who serve those businesses who want to hear this story really should come and hear Carl and some others speak to this topic.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other business that needs to come before council this evening? If not, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Adjourn. Get our rump out of that, yeah.